Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Joanne Smedley, and we warmly welcome the family of Sergeant John Franklin James, who are in attendance this evening. His story tonight will be read by Flight Lieutenant Philip Bass from the Royal Australian Air Force, who is the great-nephew of Sergeant John Franklin James. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in the singing of the National Anthem, which will be led this evening by the members of the Australian Military Wives Choir. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant John Franklin James. John James was born on the 13th of February 1916, the son of Edwin and Ellen James of Brisbane's suburb Morningside. James attended Morningside State School and Brisbane State High School, and later worked as a clerk at Messrs Howard's Limited, a leading motor and refrigeration firm. He enjoyed sports such as rowing, football, cricket, tennis, athletics, swimming, and gymnastics before the war, and gained valuable military experience by serving for 3 years in the Royal Corps of Signals, a Brisbane-based militia unit. James enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 24th of May 1940 at Brisbane and began training at various bases across New South Wales, including the No. 2 Initial Training School at Bradfield and the No. 5 Element Flying Training School at Narromine. On the 3rd of October 1940, he embarked at Sydney for service overseas. James sailed for Canada, where he would participate in the Empire Air Training Scheme, a program in which airmen from across the British Empire were brought together to train and then were deployed to wherever they were needed most for the Allied war effort. As part of this program, James trained at the No. 3 Service Flying Training School in Calgary, Alberta. Throughout his period of training, James received 2 promotions. In January 1941, he reached the rank of sergeant, and later that month sailed from Canada for the United Kingdom. In April 1941, James joined the RAF No. 102 Squadron, which at that time was based at Topcliffe in North Yorkshire. No. 102 Squadron was a night bombing squadron, which in 1941 flew Whitley Mark V medium bombers on raids over Germany and occupied Europe. On the 12th of June 1941, James participated in a nighttime bombing raid intended to attack rail yards at Schwerter, a town in western Germany. The raid involved 36 Whitley bombers and 6 Wellington long-range bombers. James served as one of the 5 crew members aboard aircraft Zulu 6489, which took off from Topcliffe shortly after 11 p.m. on the 12th of June. No further communication from the aircraft was ever received by the Allied authorities. One report states that James's aircraft was shot down during the early hours of the 13th of June by German ace night fighter pilot Reinhold Knacker. James was originally officially recorded as missing, and his family faced an agonising wait to find out his fate. They did not receive word that he was officially recorded as presumed killed until November 1941. The official presumption was able to be made after an International Red Cross report stated that the wreckage of the aircraft had been found to the south of Eindhoven in the Netherlands. All crew members were reported to have been killed, though only 2 bodies could be positively identified. In a letter to the Department of Air, James's mother wrote that the official presumption of her son's death on the account of the International Red Cross report has completely shattered the hope that I had that my son may be alive somewhere in enemy territory. Words fail me to express my thoughts, and I can only thank you for your kindly expressed letters and sympathies in the loss of my precious son. James was 25 years old. James was initially buried in a grave of an unidentified airman in Eindhoven, Wernzel General Cemetery in the Netherlands. In 1948, his body was able to be positively identified and was moved. His remains now lie among those of his fellow crew members. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of sacrifice service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. Now we remember Sergeant John Franklin James, who gave his life for us, our freedoms, and the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.